Taylor Fritz doesn't have the flashiest serve on the tour, but mechanically it's one of the cleanest kinetic chains in modern tennis. There's no wasted motion, there's no dramatic toss, and there's no exaggerated knee bend. It's just perfect sequencing and really good timing. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly why he produces so much serve power and pace very effortlessly, and how you can implement some of these things into your own game and hopefully improve your own serve. So if you're interested in these videos, hit the like and subscribe button, and stay tuned for many more of these videos to come. Anyways, let's get straight into Taylor's serve. So first, let's look at his stance. Fritz likes to use a platform base, and that's when his feet are slightly apart through the motion. And he also likes to start with the weight on his back leg. So he's almost sort of leaning onto that back leg, sort of putting a bit of pressure on the back leg, which helps store that energy for when he actually wants to go forward into the court. And that's really good for just staying balanced and being able to drive up into the ball off that back leg. So that's a really important key. A lot of other servers have a pinpoint serve, but I sometimes find the pinpoint stance can be a little bit harder to time under pressure. I think some of the best servers on platform stance have really good consistency in this stance over the course of a long match. So the next thing I'm looking at is his grip, and Taylor's just in a normal chopper grip. With a lot of beginners, I like to say if you get the edge of the racket here and you get the V, so I kind of point a V here, and you line the V up with the edge of the racket like that, and you run it down to the bottom. That's how you find the chopper grip on your serve, and you can almost see the palm of his hand would almost be pointing down the other side of the court. So that's his grip. If you don't get the grip right, the rest of the sequencing on the serve is not going to work. So you've really got to practice in that right grip if you're a beginner. So now here's the most important thing to initiate the beginning of the serve, and this is where a lot of players get this wrong. Notice how a lot of players, what they tend to do is initiate the serve with the racket hand or the right arm, the serving arm, whereas Taylor initiates the serve with the ball toss arm first. So you'll see that this left arm, I'll just highlight the left arm here, the left arm is going to start to go up first. And notice how he keeps this left arm almost straight. So there's no bend in the elbow. He's also going out to the right side of his body. So if I draw a line through through the line here, you'll see that the left arm is on the right side of him and it's not too far forward. So everything's happening on the right side with his serve. So you'll see that that left arm is straight. And that's really important because if there's a bend, so if there was a slight bend in the elbow here, you end up flicking with the wrist to kind of compensate. So that's why these players like to have a straight arm on the ball tossing arm. So now you'll see on the ball release here, what these players do, what all the good servers do, is when they release the ball toss, they release above the shoulder line. So a lot of lower level players, sometimes they get this, they find this tricky and they actually release the ball toss from too low. And when you release too low, it's hard to really control it, and sometimes you end up throwing it too far over to your left side, or you end up throwing it behind you. So really try and release that ball above your shoulder height. And that's gonna help you stay more consistent with your ball tossing arm. And the next thing we're gonna have a little look at here is what he does with the racket arm. So you'll notice I draw the line through the shoulders here, and you'll see that a lot of players get this confused as well. Is they bring both the arms up together and they go like this too quickly, whereas you'll see that the racket arm is below the green line. And the ball tossing arm, so the racket arm's low and the ball tossing arm is above his shoulder. And he's also looking up at the ball here. He's not looking down and he's not looking at his opponent. So that's just one little thing to take on board. So the next thing I want us to look at, I draw a line down here again, and we're just going to have a look at how he initiates the racket hand now. So as the ball toss is released and the ball's rising up here, you'll see that his racket arm hasn't moved yet. So it hasn't moved, it's still staying quite low. But what he's initiating now is the leg drive. So his legs are going into that knee bend position as the ball's on the way up. But his racket hasn't gone up yet. And that's a real key to think about. So let's just get rid of some of the lines. So as the ball's being released, I just go back again. As the ball's being released, he's sinking down with his legs down and loading into the legs as the ball's on the way up. So it's all about timing, guys, and getting these key little things timed in the right sequence to really be effective on your serve. So as the toss is getting into the apex, so let's just have a look at how high he throws the ball. He's got a low ball toss. That's the next thing. So as the ball's getting to the apex, which is about here, you can see how much he's loaded into both knees. So both knees are loading down in that platform base position, and the racket, the strings are facing the back wall. So you can almost picture having the tip of the racket out to the side and the strings facing here, or the strings facing your opponent. They're not down and they've not opened behind. Some club players often open the racket and get the tip of the racket facing at the back wall, whereas Taylor keeps that tip of the racket out to the side. And if I draw a line, so you can see the ball's there, the ball's just there, still just about on the screen. Notice how the racket is on the right side of his body. So the racket is out here and he's not taking the racket too far behind his body. So and let's just have a look at that ball toss again. So he's throwing that there and he's dropped down with the legs. So as the ball toss gets to the peak, which is about now, that's when he initiates the racket to go up into the trophy position. And as the racket's driving up this way, he's exploding up to the ball with his leg drive, and he's getting into the trophy position as he's driving up with his legs. And he gets into that trophy position here. So the racket's above the head. He's still in the chopper grip. And a lot of players get this wrong. They think they need to drop the racket behind their head and actually think about that, whereas this just happens because he's holding the racket loose. That's naturally just going to drop and lag behind his back and get into this position. So what you'll see here is you'll see that his chest, so his chest or his hand, is side on, right? So his body is actually side on. But when he drives up to the contact of the ball, you'll see how this hip, so if I just highlight the hip and the chest, you'll see how this hip is actually going to rotate and it's now facing at the court. So his chest and his hip have gone from being side on to actually rotating all the way front on, facing his opponent down the other end. And that racket, he's got good shoulder mobility like all pros will work on. And that's why the racket has dropped into lag position here, a bit like a whip effect. And you'll see that the tip of the racket is now down behind his back. And he's actually going to lead to the contact slightly edge on. So a lot of coaches like to get their players leading with the edge of the racket up to the contact. So you could say kind of like edge on here. And what you'll see now is we're going to see how he makes contact with a nice straight arm. And that's really key, is to What I see with a lot of lower level club players is that they don't fully extend into that position. Their elbow's low and they're trying to just use their forearm here instead of really extending up. And by extending up, that's when you're going to be able to use the end of your almost, I don't know if that's the right word, your kinetic chain, but you're going to be able to use the end of the whip, which is your wrist, and actually snap with the wrist being able to get on the top of the ball a little bit more by doing that. Whereas if your elbows bend, you end up pushing the serve, and that's why the ball goes up and you quite often hit long. So then he's going to really snap down on the contact, and obviously he's 6'4", so he's able to really get on top of the ball and snap down, which gets that nice bounce on impact on the service when it hits the service box. And we can see that he lands on, so some people, they don't know which leg to land on at the lower levels, and you're landing on that left leg, okay, and you kind of kick this right leg, if you're a right-hander, should naturally kind of kick out behind you for balance and just being able to just stay stable after you make contact with the serve. So these are some of the main keys that I like to look at, but I think a lot of players, if they can get this racket out to the side here as they're taking it up this way, I kind of tell people, can you do like an army salute? You know, and when they do this, it's kind of like, can you get the racket going up this way over your head, and then the elbow rotating by the hip coming around the body, and that's Taylor's serve. So he's got a really efficient serve, and I hope you managed to learn a few things from this video. And like always, if you're interested in working with me one-on-one online, I can review your whole game, give you an exact plan on all of your shots to improve, just like I've done with many of my previous clients. It's much easier to get gains in your level when you watch your own game back and you review it, and then you set small targets to work towards, rather than just going out on the court and doing the same bad habits. So if you want to do that, just check the description and you can work with me one-on-one online. Again, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks, Jack.